What's up, everyone? My name is Ale. Welcome back to my world of stocks. So, with the stock market essentially crashing right now, a lot of people are becoming more interested in entering the market to take advantage of those falling prices. So, today I'm going to make a super beginner friendly video for you guys with 5 easy steps to buy stocks. We're going to cover things like what stocks are, how to value them, what strategies to use, and of course, how to physically go about buying stocks with just even your smartphone. It's going to be a fun one, going to keep it very simple, easy to understand. I hope all of you beginners enjoy this, and if you do, please consider subscribing to the channel because I make all sorts of videos about stocks, the market, what I'm investing in myself. It's a lot of fun. I would love to have you here, so please subscribe if you haven't already. But with that said, let's go ahead and jump into these 5 simple steps to take in order to buy stocks. Okay, step number 1, understanding stocks. Let's get a few basics out of the way here. Now, keeping things very simple, just know that stocks are nothing more than ownership certificates, something that says that you are a part owner of a company. So if you buy stock in Apple, for example, then guess what? You are now considered a part owner of Apple. Now, the price of that stock is based on market demand, so it's basically what people are willing to pay for it, which in turn is based on how strong of a company this is and how profitable they are and how well their business performs and how much future potential they have. All these kinds of things can affect the stock price, and ideally, you would buy the stock of a good company that performs well over time, which increases the demand for the stock because people want to be part owners of that company, which ends up raising the price of the stock, and then you can sell that stock for a profit later on. That's the ideal scenario. From here, though, we can move on to step number 2, which is to understand the different types of stocks that are available in the market. And there are 3 basic, I would say overarching type of stocks, those being growth stocks, value stocks, and dividend stocks. Now, growth stocks are what we consider growth-oriented companies that are growing by a lot right now or that have a lot of future potential, and thus as they grow their business over time, you should also see an increase in the stock price as well. For example, Tesla is considered a very popular growth stock as they've grown their sales by over 150% from 2018 to 2021. As a result, the stock price has also grown by a huge amount of nearly 1,000% over the past 5 years. On the other hand, a value stock is generally considered a company that may not have a lot of growth, but it makes up for it by having a cheap stock price. Take Tesla's competitor in Ford, for example, who actually saw a decline in their sales of around negative 15% from 2018 to 2021, and thus their stock is actually flat over the past 5 years, whereas Tesla, their stock increased by a huge amount. Now, this doesn't necessarily mean that Tesla's stock price is expensive or that Ford's price is cheap, but I'll show you how we can determine that in the next step when we cover how to quickly value stocks. And finally, we also have dividend stocks, which can actually be either a growth stock or a value stock, but all it means is that the stock itself also pays you a dividend for owning it. In other words, the company makes a payment to you as an incentive for you owning their stock. For example, one stock that I own in my portfolio is the telecommunications giant Verizon, who I consider to be a value stock, but they also pay a dividend of about 5% per year at today's prices. So if you bought Verizon stock today, you would get 5% back in the form of cash every single year just for owning it. By the way, though, those payments are usually broken up into 4 quarters with most companies. Anyway, that brings us now to step number 3. How do we actually value stocks? How do we know if they're considered cheap or expensive? Well, this can really be broken up into 2 parts. One being a little more qualitative or maybe a little intangible, meaning how good the company's brand is, maybe how popular their products are, how much future potential their market has, those types of things. And then the other part is more quantitative, a lot more measurable right now. It's a lot more tangible, meaning this is where you're going to look at the raw numbers that they put up as a business in terms of sales and profits and how that relates to the stock price itself. And for that, the most often used metrics are the PE, price to earnings ratio, and the PS, price to sales ratio. Now, The PE ratio is just the price of the stock divided by the profits of the company. So it's basically telling you what value you're getting back in terms of how profitable the company is versus the price that you're paying for that stock. And the same thing goes for the price to sales ratio, except that here you're using sales instead of profits, which can be useful to use if a company is not yet profitable. But generally speaking, a stock with a high PE or PS ratio tends to be a more growth oriented, typically more expensive type of stock because you're paying a higher price right now for how good the company is performing, how good they're growing, or what they can do in the future, while a low PE or PS ratio is generally associated with a more value oriented stock because you're able to pay a lower price right now since the company is maybe not experiencing a lot of growth and thus may not have as much future potential, things like that. Now, there's obviously exceptions to all of this, but that's kind of the general idea. And so to give you an example of this, we already established that Tesla is more of a growth-oriented company while Ford is more of a value-oriented company because of their performance. And that completely translates in this scenario over to their stock valuations as well. For example, Tesla has a very high PE ratio, price to earnings ratio of 57, while Ford has a PE ratio of only 6. So that is much lower, considered much cheaper. Tesla also trades over 400% more expensive than the sector when using that metric, while Ford is close to 50% cheaper than the sector. Again, though, that doesn't necessarily mean that one stock is better than the other in terms of owning it over the long term, things like that. It just means that you're paying a higher price right now for Tesla. So as a business, you kind of need Tesla to outperform Ford in order to justify the higher price tag. That's all it means. And in case you're wondering, for me myself, I am invested in Tesla over Ford because I just believe that Tesla has a lot more long-term potential in their business and the markets that they operate in. But I admit, Ford stock doesn't look that bad either because it's so cheap right now, but I do not currently own it. Which brings me to step number 4, strategy. What is the best way to go about investing in stocks? Should we be looking for growth? Should we look for value? Should we only be interested in dividends? There are many people out there who are only interested in one of those different things. But for me, I've always felt that having a little bit of everything is the best strategy, helps diversify your portfolio a little bit, doesn't leave you overly exposed to one or the other. And that's especially the case if you're a beginner. I myself am not a beginner anymore, and I still practice this to this day. Having a little bit of everything I think is the best route. But I also want to give you guys a few more extra bonus strategy tips that I think are going to help you along your journey. Now, tip number 1, I'll say stick to larger profitable companies that you actually know a lot about yourself, or maybe even use their products or services, because that'll make it much easier for you to understand the company's products, their business, and their competition, and help you make future predictions in terms of where this company, the business, and the stock is headed over the long term. For example, if you're a big video game player, then maybe you want to look at some video game stocks, like, for example, Microsoft, a giant, very profitable company that also owns Xbox. If you use a lot of social media, maybe you want to look at Meta. They own Instagram and Facebook, and they're also investing heavy in the future of the metaverse for future growth. If you have a lot of Apple products, maybe use an Apple Watch, an iPhone, a Mac, an iPad, whatever else, you might want to look into Apple stock because you'll understand their products and services. If you do a lot of online shopping, maybe you want to look at Amazon. Maybe you drive a Tesla and think that's a very revolutionary product and you think they have a lot of future potential. You might want to look at that. You get the idea. Tip number 2, just remember that valuations do matter. And if you want a great place to start for valuing companies, I highly recommend the websites Yahoo Finance and Seeking Alpha. Both of them give a ton of free information, including the PE and PS ratios that we talked about earlier, as well as growth rates, future predictions from analysts, and a ton more. Tip number 3, stick to long-term investing over short-term trading. Long-term investing ensures that you can ignore short-term noise, it'll help keep you calm, and it'll keep you focused on the long-term picture rather than panic selling out of stocks for a loss whenever they dip. Which brings me to tip number 4, have some fun. Enjoy investing in stocks. Instead of arguing with people on the internet over which stock is about to crash or whether the market will recover, I suggest just having a long-term mindset, staying calm, and having fun with your investments. That'll make it much more enjoyable as a process, which will in turn encourage you to do more research because you actually enjoy it. And that's going to increase your chances of picking good stocks over the long term. And finally, tip number 5, just be careful, diversify, only invest with money that you can afford to lose, and don't do anything that you don't feel comfortable with. If buying a certain stock feels more like a gamble to you rather than an investment, then don't buy it. I know you might think that you're going to miss a great opportunity if you don't buy it and then it's going to take off and you'll never get that chance again, but the truth is that there are great opportunities all over the market. So just because you miss out of one stock doesn't mean that you can't get those same type of gains with another stock that you feel more comfortable investing in. So be patient and make smart decisions over the long term. Okay, so we've now covered a lot of the really quick basics when it comes to stocks, and we've even talked a little bit about strategy too to help you along the way. But how do we actually go about physically buying stocks? Well, before you get scared of anything, just know that this is extremely simple and easy. All you have to do is get a stockbroker, basically a company that helps you buy or sell stocks. The vast majority of them have an app that you can download to your phone and use for free. Now, there are countless options out there, and I'm not sponsored by any of them myself, but I'll just share with you my 2 personal favorite platforms that I use, which are E-Trade and Robinhood. Both are super easy to use and offer commission-free trading, meaning that you don't have to pay any extra fees for buying and selling most stocks. You only have to pay the actual price of the stock. Now, when you download them, they're going to ask you for some personal information, and they'll ask you to link a bank account so that you can transfer money to use for buying stocks. But it's all really simple and straightforward, and it's just what you have to do in order to use it. And just to give you a quick example here of how to actually buy a stock, how it works, we're going to open up my Robinhood app on my phone and we'll click on the search bar. And for this example, we'll pretend that you like to do a lot of home improvement projects. So maybe you shop at Home Depot a lot and you did some research on the stock and you found out that you really like the stock, you think it's a good value, you love the dividend that they pay, and you decided that you want to invest in the stock. Well, all you have to do here is enter Home Depot in the search bar. Then the stock will pop up below that. We're going to click on it, which will take us to the home screen of Home Depot stock on the Robinhood app. We'll click on trade and then buy. From there, it's going to show us the purchase screen, which is currently set to dollars, meaning you can buy any amount of Home Depot stock using dollars instead of shares. So you could literally just buy like $1 worth of Home Depot stock. But instead, we'll change it to shares by clicking on dollars. Then we'll enter 1 share for the amount and we'll click on review. And then we can swipe up to submit the purchase of 1 share of Home Depot stock, which is worth $283 at the time of this recording. And that's it. It just takes $283 from your account and you are now part owner of Home Depot stock at 1 whole share. It's really that simple. But anyway, that's going to do it for this video. I hope you guys enjoyed it. If anything didn't make sense, you have any questions at all, drop them for me down below in the comment section. I will get back to you. I'll respond to those comments. And if you haven't already, please subscribe. I'd love to have you on the channel and I'd love to make more videos for you guys. And if you did enjoy this video, please consider hitting that like button. It really helps the channel a lot and it means a lot to me. But that's going to do it for now. I will catch you guys in the next video. Good luck with all of your investing journeys, everything that you plan to do. And I hope you're all doing well. And I'll catch you in the next one. Take care. Bye-bye.